When I think of architecture, first thing come to mind is why? Why was that structure put there, and does it still serve that purpose, that function? What I found is in most cases it does not. There are buildings all over the world, unoccupied, massive amounts of space when you think in terms of square footage. Meanwhile, there are many in the millions of people living without adequate shelter. When I think of this, I think something has went wrong in humanity. Something needs to change. Something has to change. So I dedicate my practice as a service to figuring out real-world solutions to problems such as these.
So, my architecture master project is diving into the interconnection between architecture and culture. Now, architecture definitely influences culture, because it influenced the way we move, it influenced the way we do business, it influenced the way we live. Architecture and urban planning influence every aspect of our daily lives, from where we park our cars to how far back we need to place our houses when we build them. So you see, architecture is very, very influential, but the secret thing about it is urban planning may have the most influence because it's where all the rules and regulations are established that actually dictates the architecture. Now, culture also influences architecture. On a certain level, the previous architecture, the generation before the one we're currently in, influenced the minds of the urban planners and architects of our era. So it's like an ebb and flow, a very intimate, intricate relationship that culture and architecture shares. So my project aims to establish a piece of architecture that can actually influence culture. So I found that the culture that needed the most attention was the way in which we view residential housing. It's deeply rooted in success culture. And success culture is this mentality that suggests we need more. We have to buy bigger, better, than the next person, than the previous generation. And it's influencing every aspect of our life. This has to stop, especially when it comes to housing, because when you have this type of culture influencing buying trends on real estate, things can get pretty one-sided, meaning the seller is at a huge advantage. And now, with Wall Street purchasing all the real estate other than the government municipality real estate, premiums on these purchases are going through the roof. Since the pandemic, housing prices have increased over 40%. Now, the sad thing about these increasing housing prices is most of the houses being sold are over 100 years old. The average lifespan of a piece of architecture is 50 years. Now, these 100-year-old dwellings, when they were built 100 years ago, maybe cost $5,000 to build. So people are buying 100-year-old pieces of residential architecture that have exceeded its usage expectancy for over 5,000 times the original cost. There's nothing fair about that. fact, that would be considered predatory lending, in my opinion. So to rectify the situation, I had the idea of, what if you didn't have to buy a whole house? What if we fragmented the residential home and through programming, re-established a new culture, a new trend in home purchasing? You only purchase what you need. And me, as an architect, I feel like I can program everything a person need to survive in 100 square foot dwelling. That's right. 100 square foot, everything a person needs to sustain their life. Now, keeping this in mind that we need to be shifting to a digital built environment in a sustainable, need-based, natural world living situation, this fits right in alignment with that. And these modular, life-sustaining pods is what I'm calling.
Does architecture influence culture? Yes. Does architecture influence identity? Yes. Does culture influence architecture? Yes. Does culture influence identity? Yes. Does architecture influence culture? Yes. Does architecture influence identity? Yes. Does culture influence architecture? Yes. Does culture influence identity? Yes. Does architecture influence culture? Yes. Does architecture influence identity? Yes. Does culture influence architecture? Yes. Does culture influence identity? Yes. Does architecture influence culture? Yes. Does architecture influence identity? Yes. Does culture influence architecture? Yes. Does culture influence identity? Yes. Does architecture influence culture? Yes. Does architecture influence identity? Yes. Does culture influence architecture? Yes. Does culture influence identity? Yes. Does architecture influence culture? Yes. Does architecture influence identity? Yes. Does culture influence architecture? Yes. Does culture influence identity? Yes. Does architecture influence culture? Yes. Does architecture influence identity? Yes. Does culture influence architecture? Yes. Does culture influence identity? Yes. Does architecture influence culture? Yes. Does architecture influence identity? Yes. Does culture influence architecture? Yes. Does culture influence identity? Yes. Does architecture?
Everybody join hands. If we put our minds together, we can make a plan. If we set aside differences, we stand a chance. Pay attention, people, please try to understand. Everybody join hands. If we put our minds together, we can make a plan. If we set aside differences, we stand a chance. Pay attention, people, please try to understand. Only thing on the rise is the sea level. Climate change got us all like it's the devil. In the time prophecies like in the Bible, got us all out our mind like we some rivals. Let's set aside petty differences and join minds. Let's put our focus on the world while there's still time. Strategize, mastermind a good action plan. We got the fate of the whole world in our hands. Everybody join hands. If we put our minds together, we can make a plan. If we set aside differences, we stand a chance. Pay attention, people, please try to understand. Everybody join hands. If we put our minds together, we can make a plan. If we set aside differences, we stand a chance. Pay attention, people, please try to understand. America, Africa, China, Japan. Ain't nobody special, we all are the same. Trying to overcome all the pressures and pain. Trying to erase all the hardship and shame. Rectify it all with a tax for the earth. A conservation trust fund won't be the first. 1% of gross income shouldn't hurt. That's about the price of a nice t-shirt. Everybody join hands. If we put our minds together, we can make a plan. If we set aside differences, we stand a chance. Pay attention, people, please try to understand. Everybody join hands. If we put our minds together, we can make a plan. If we set aside differences, we stand a chance. Pay attention, people, please try to understand. There ain't no one person to blame. We all want the same thing and we all playing for the same team. Let's break it down to what we need. Less degree, plant some seeds and quit cutting down all the trees. From consumption to a need-based society, our only focus should be sustainability. I asked my doctor what's the remedy. He turned to me and said, LaVelle, what we need is some world peace. Everybody join hands. If we put our minds together, we can make a plan. If we set aside differences, we stand a chance. Pay attention, people, please try to understand. Everybody join hands. If we put our minds together, we can make a plan. If we set aside differences, we stand a chance. Pay attention, people, please try to understand.
I believe the problem is a lot of people have been priced out of owning a home. It's getting to the case to where a lot of people are even priced out of renting a home. Now, I'm sure there are other circumstances at play for some folks, but I will go out on a limb here and suggest that for the majority of people, now and moving forward into the future, it will probably be due to being priced out, that cause homelessness. We're at a state of emergency when it comes to the housing crisis here on the planet. Everyone seems to be caught up on comfort and convenience. Everyone seems to be caught up in the success culture that tells them, I need bigger, I need better, I need more. Consumerism is at the heart of the culture, when minimalist should be our motion. This architecture solution, the modular life-sustaining pod, is the answer. Though it is only 100 square foot, I have programmed all the essentials, all the life-sustaining requirements in a dwelling unit. They're expandable, they're collapsible, they're versatile, they're innovative. They are the way of the future. Application-wise, these pods can be the solution for a lot of different scenarios. Now, With the current scenario, they serve the purpose of need-based application, human sustainability with a minimal footprint. But consider taking this beyond that. Consider taking this to Mars. Imagine the Martian terrain filled with these modular life-sustaining pods. Of course, it would be a different application. I'm imagining the pods will be housed in a 3D printed structure. But the units itself will be where the astronauts reside, where the astronauts work, where the astronauts eat. This could be our ticket to an interplanetary species, our ticket to becoming a part of the civilization of the universe. These modular life-sustaining pods, simple yet elegant, architectural, structural, and can be disassembled. Who needs to buy a whole house when you can buy only the portion you need? As your family grow, so too can your abode. As your family shrink, so too can your abode. These pods prepare you for anything life throws at you. They're all you need. They are the way.
When was the last time that I thank you for all you do? Gave praise to your name, stay strong in your faith like people ought to do. Dear God, forgive me for past times, past sins and past crimes. Dear God, forgive me for my mind, cause most times it falls short of divine. Dear God, when was the last time that I thank you for all you do? Gave praise to your name, stay strong in your faith like people ought to do. Dear God, forgive me for past times, past sins and past crimes. Dear God, forgive me for my mind, cause most times it falls short of divine. I hear we living in the land of the lost. I guess I'm living with the dead still. If there's a plan, it's a loss, cause we're going on the lands like we all done lost our heads. If there's a God, will he save us? No time for the praises, let's be courageous. Send Lord in the Cape Town. If that sound crazy, then replace it. My heart is hurt now. For the times that I sat around didn't do nothing, but now I see now. Time to hit my knees and pray for something. Dear God, when was the last time that I thank you for all you do? Gave praise to your name, stay strong in your faith like people ought to do. Dear God, forgive me for past times, past sins and past crimes. Dear God, forgive me for my mind, cause most times it falls short of divine. Dear God, when was the last time that I thank you for all you do? Gave praise to your name, stay strong in your faith like people ought to do. Dear God, forgive me for past times, past sins and past crimes. Dear God, forgive me for my mind, cause most times it falls short of divine. I hear the people hate Asians when I heard that all sense please Lord save us.
My God, that's crazy. You must really not understand what you're saying. Our minds are caged in like a box rat in a food maze. God wrath for the cruelty. Nonsense get beneath me. Jewelry before people eating. Children dying in the streets. Lowering in the Middle East. Politics ran by creeps. Dear God, when was the last time that I thank you for all you do? Gave praise to your name, stay strong in your faith like people ought to do. Dear God, forgive me for past times, past sins and past crimes. Dear God, forgive me for my mind, cause most times it falls short of divine. Dear God, when was the last time that I thank you for all you do? Gave praise to your name, stay strong in your faith like people ought to do. Dear God, forgive me for past times, past sins and past crimes. Dear God, forgive me for my mind, cause most times it falls short of divine.
Love is God and God is love. There is no other way to it. I mean, when you really think about it, I believe the question is, what is love? Of course, there will be a subjective response given as the answer. I mean, love can be defined in a broad sense. However, I believe for each individual, the answer will emerge from their inner higher self. Because love is just that, love, baby.
Dear God, when was the last time that I thank you for all you do? Gave praise to your name, stay strong in your faith like people ought to do. Dear God, forgive me for past times, past sins and past crimes. Dear God, forgive me for my mind, cause most times it falls short of divine. Dear God, when was the last time that I thank you for all you do? Gave praise to your name, stay strong in your faith like people ought to do. Dear God, forgive me for past times, past sins and past crimes. Dear God, forgive me for my mind, cause most times it falls short of divine.
You know, the funny thing about this housing shortage, when you look at the municipality, I mean, they have so much of this vacant space. They are using tax dollars to buy all this real estate. They are literally monopolizing space when it comes to architecture, urban planning. It's like a monopoly that these municipalities have. The government owns more real estate than any other organization in the world, probably. You know, of course, that could be a little bit of exaggeration, but when you look around, it may not be. I mean, look at all these nice, gaudy spaces, this beautiful architecture. Beautiful, but I say that with a grain of salt because it's very, very destructive environmentally. And I'll get into that a little later. But change is coming. We have to come together and realize that we need to quit wasting our tax dollars
on municipality architecture, structures, buildings, and maybe invest that into actual fair housing. If we downsized some of this government architecture, government space, we could probably afford to buy everybody a need-based home solution. It could be just given to the citizens. And, all they would have to do is maintain it. I believe a system such as this is kind of socialist, but I think it could be the answer to our problems. One thing we learned from the pandemic is that technically we don't need all that space to get things done. When everyone was working remote from home, we were more productive. We got a lot more done. These buildings were empty. Who are paying the bills? I don't know about you, but these bills must be significant. The sheriff department, city hall, the name goes on and on and on. The county building, all these buildings need maintenance. They have utilities, and they are vacant at least 50% of the time. I just don't understand the logic behind that. From an architectural standpoint, an environmentalist standpoint, we can decommission these structures. Take them down. That's our battle cry. Take them down. Disassemble them. And these organizations, the workers, these municipalities, they can work from home. I think that would be the best thing to happen to America, the best thing to happen to the planet, and the best thing to happen to humanity. I think everyone should just slow down, go back remote, work from home, and we can tear all these weird structures down. We could just take all this materials and just, recycle it. And, then we have a lot of more space for a natural environment to reemerge. Because when you think about all this space, not only the structure, but the actual land it has taken up. This used to be an ecosystem. All this concrete and steel and glass and pipes running underneath for infrastructure, and we just done away with all the environmental nature that was there to put this stuff there. When are we going to see that we are not the only living species in existence on this planet? We can't just go around saying, oh, whatever living there now, it'll figure it out. It'll just go somewhere else. It'll go and find a new place to live until we humans realize, hey, we want that space too. The sad thing is we not only do that to nature and the species lesser than human beings, we do that to ourselves, neighborhood-wise. Predominantly African-American neighborhood can be gentrified or acquired through acquisitions due to very, very strategic, diabolical planning and zoning to make it hard to live in certain areas, so they would move away, and then they will, acquire the land through this deceptive manner. And I think it's just sickening. We have to stop. We have to really stop doing this.
My name is Terry Brown. I live at 1800 Walter Southeast. I live in the South Broadway area. The home that I live in is needs remodeling, but you pretty much have to knock the house down because the floor is warped. When you walk from the middle of the floor, it drops down. You pour water, it'll slope down on the slope. So in order to remodel this house, it would pretty much have to be knocked down and redid. Plumbing, electrical, all that. These are old houses. I grew up in this neighborhood, and at that time, we were maintaining property, but we were renters from the owners living somewhere else. So we were paying rent, and nobody upgraded. So now that all the people passed on, everything's going to shame and shambles. It shouldn't be like that. This is still our neighborhood. We should do whatever we got to do to save it.
And Terry, you give me permission to use this documentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
So, environmentally, the thing is, the human impact has been so significant that it has hindered the life-sustaining capabilities of Earth, not only for human beings, but biodiversity, such as animals. We have more animal species going extinct in our era than any other era before, and at a faster rate. It's to the point to where it's almost no return. At this point, I think need-based sustainability solution is definitely the way. But at this point, it looks a lot different than you may think. In fact, I think the built environment in the natural world can no longer exist as we know it. I believe we have to now take the built environment that's in the natural world and place it in the digital world. So now, instead of having a built environment that we work, play, congregate in the natural world, we have to do that digitally in the simulation. And this sounds very sci-fi, but I assure you, we have the technology to pull this off, and it may be our only hope to survive. Now, I come up with this concept because at this time, there are a lot of efforts, human efforts, taking place for us to become interplanetary species. And I say, that's all good, for sure. Let's do whatever we can to assure our longevity and sustainability. There's only one problem with that. A trip to Mars, or a site from an architectural standpoint on Mars, would be the most expensive site in existence in the history of humanity. Now, I'm not saying we can't do that, but wouldn't it behoove us to just use the logic that we would have to exercise on Mars when you think of architecturally sustaining human life there? And we just did that here on our own planet. You know, because if we go to Mars, I mean, it's going to be a totally different living scenario. We're going to be living in very, very small, need-based, efficient housing, working, living solutions. And if we did that here on Earth, we would probably be in a better position to sustain our longevity than doing so on Mars. Mars has so many unpredictable variables that can go awry pretty quickly. And we all know how that can end. So I say we should use that resources, that logic, that practicality right here on our home planet. Master those techniques. Then, when we're in a better position, better technology, better resources, because we preserve so many from downsizing our current situation, we can go there with ease, like a breeze. So I say we partner the simulation and the digital world built environment with need-based, logical practicality, life-sustaining housing and living solutions in the natural world here on Earth. And within a decade, I assure you, especially if we disassemble all these structures and allow nature to take its place and reemerge, we will probably be better than we ever had in history.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but trees sequester carbon. Currently, the planet has a carbon problem. You see, since the beginning of the agriculture era, roughly 12,000 years ago, we have lost 46% of trees due to agriculture, which is the number one cause of deforestation. Now, I understand we have to eat, but for me, that just seems a bit reckless. You see, trees sustain life here on planet Earth. In fact, if I had to go on a limb, I would say trees are probably the number one natural resource here on the planet. I say that for two reasons. They sequester carbon and they provide oxygen. So without either of those functions taking place, we couldn't exist. Now, it is estimated that 15 billion trees are cut down annually. For me, this makes no sense when considering the vital role they play to sustaining life here on the planet. So I got to thinking, and I came up with a real world solution to this problem. Currently, we have two generations reaching the final stages of their lives. And this poses an opportunity. There's this sacred ritual practice called a tree burial. And basically, at the final end of someone's life, there's this sacred ceremony that takes place, and the person's family can attend, and the remains are placed in this biodegradable capsule and placed on the root bulb of a tree. And as it decomposes, it gives the tree vital nutrients as well as the earth soil. So with a simple sacred ritual burial, we can re-amend earth's soil as well as reforest the face of the planet. To me, that sounds like a real world architectural solution to a real world human problem. Now, you pair this with the disassembling of the exaggerated built environment, and within a decade, you have a beautiful, life-sustaining planet here on Earth. Meaning there will be no reason to be looking for another planet except for leisure, which is fine. So I challenge you, investigate this tree burial, become an advocate, opt in for a tree burial, and pay it forward for future generations. Because that's who we are. We are nature realizing itself, and these are the ecosystem engineering practices we should be utilizing.
Territories I can't take it.
There she go again, dropping petals, they blowing in the wind. Circles of yellow, haunted by her past, won't let no one close. Teardrops fall, trying to let it go. There she go again, dropping petals, they blowing in the wind. Circles of yellow, haunted by her past, won't let no one close. Teardrops fall, trying to let it go.
Now I know some of you must be thinking, wait, what? Take the built environment digital, live in a simulated reality partially? That's too far out. Well, I assure you it is not. In fact, technically, we're halfway there. When you take into consideration smart devices and social media, it's only a matter of time before we go full digital.
There she go again, dropping petals, they blowing in the wind. Circles of yellow, haunted by her past, won't let no one close. Teardrops fall, trying to let it go. There she go again, dropping petals, they blowing in the wind. Circles of yellow, haunted by her past, won't let no one close. Teardrops fall, trying to let it go.
When you really think about it, going digital is our next evolutionary leap. And it's what makes sense for our current state, both environmentally and as a species. It's no secret. Humanity is in dire need of relief.
There she go again, dropping petals, they blowing in the wind. Circles of yellow, haunted by her past, won't let no one close. Teardrops fall, trying to let it go. There she go again, dropping petals, they blowing in the wind. Circles of yellow, haunted by her past, won't let no one close. Teardrops fall, trying to let it go.
We are nature realizing itself. And in that realization, we have to come to terms with the fact that we are living at the current state of our next evolutionary leap. And that leap is going to take us into new, exciting, and exploratory realms of existence.
There she go again, dropping petals, they blowing in the wind. Circles of yellow, haunted by her past, won't let no one close. Teardrops fall, trying to let it go. There she go again, dropping petals, they blowing in the wind. Circles of yellow, haunted by her past, won't let no one close. Teardrops fall, trying to let it go.